It's the new year, and one of your goals is probably to take care of yourself and health more and prioritize yourself. So, is there such a thing as too much self-care? And to very quickly answer that question, absolutely. There is such a thing as too much self-care, just like with everything else, right? And a lot of the times, especially if you are a high achiever, you will add so much things in your self-care bucket that will lead you to not follow through with all of it. Stop the consistency. And because of this or nothing mentality, you're actually not seeing what practices actually work for you, which then means that you're back in square one and not taking care of yourself because it just gets too overwhelming. One of the reasons why this is happening is because depending on where you're at and how well you've taken care of yourself historically, when you already have an overwhelmed system, adding too much is just going to make a lot of things worse. An overwhelmed system is easily overwhelmed. This is why in all of my courses, in my neurosync trainings for one-to-one practitioners and even my somatic practices, I always say that less is more. And I will always tell my students and my clients to stop adding shit that doesn't work. Truth of the matter is, you don't need the 90-minute daily Joe Dispenza meditations in order for you to receive really, really effective self relief for stress. And so it's really just about honing in on what actually works for you. And this requires specificity. So if you've been in the personal development and you're literally doing all the things, you're doing all of the things, but you're still stuck in the anxiety, overwhelm, exhaustion cycle that is so difficult to get out of, then this is why. It's because you're overly overloading your system with good things, the self-care, having having an elaborate morning routine that takes 5 hours is not necessary. I know that's an exaggeration, but even just the simplest morning routine can set you up for success sustainably. So what I would encourage you to do is to actually just go back to basics, look at what you're doing. And if you are someone who's still stuck in the anxiety overwhelm cycle, look at what you've done in the past that have been proven to work for you. Like literally make a list. If you're doing like five self-care things, look at each one of them and be honest with yourself with regards to what one thing are you going to commit to stick to. This is how I suggest self-care with my students. Just do one thing that you know to work per day. Eliminate the four if you are doing five. Eliminate the rest and see how you go. What you'll find is that that actually is going to be more beneficial for you than trying to, wake up at 5 o'clock, do the cold plunge, do the meditation, do the yoga, do the sauna, do the red light, like all of that shit at the same time within the first hour of your day. That is too much. And so you want to, again, be able to pinpoint the ones that actually work and stick to the one. Once you can stick to the one and you're finding really good relief, then that is the time to add more. You always need to go back to the basics. This is just like everything in life, right? You want to go back to the basics and see what at a foundational level actually works for me. If you're finding that just like 5 minutes to sit down and and attune to your body every day, then that's all you need, just 5 minutes, right? You don't need to have an arbitrary 1 hour of self-care per day. Like that's not a thing. Who decided that? Right. So that this is really what I want to like the message that I really want to share with you is that if you are someone who really wants to create massive impact and increase your stress bucket, then it starts with knowing what works for you. Less is more consistently over time. Because if not, you'll just go back to the overwhelmed cycle because you're already overwhelming your system that is already overwhelmed. And so if you are finding yourself overwhelmed frequently, adding more shit is going to just be worse and make your stress bucket overflow. This is how I teach very effective stress resilience tools for my students. and really just focusing on the littlest things that can make a big impact, especially if you work in the personal development world, which is why you're here and why you're watching this. It can get a bit too much with regards to the practices when if you do the right things at the correct times and in the proper sequence, it should really just take you within a minute or so to make a massive impact and turn off those survival response and turn on the rest, digest, and heal state. So I hope this helps. Get rid of the shit that you don't need, trim the fat, go back to the basics, stick to what works, and do it consistently over time. That can get you further than 5 hours of self-care will, rather than actual action that takes you further towards your goals.